Welcome to Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I am your host, Asher, and our guest today is Mrs. Alma Thomas. Miss Alma, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm doing well. I'm very excited to be here on this afternoon.
Nice, nice. And you're here because today we get to talk about needs. As our theme of Thursday is needs, what you need to think, do, or feel. And today, Alma, she's going to share a little bit about her story, her journey, some of the things that can empower us as human beings on this planet to really think about stuff that we need to think that we're not thinking about, that we need to start thinking about, feeling stuff that we need to start feeling, because sometimes it's good to feel life in a certain different kind of way. And then we could some action. We can probably start doing some things that maybe you can give us some tips into that, Miss Alma. So give us a quick little rundown of your story. You say you're also a minister. Give us a little quick background on your story, if you don't mind.
I've been ministering for over 20 years. The way that I actually got into ministry is through my son, the one who passed away. When he was about 2 years old, I was going through something, and he came to me and he said, "Mommy, what are you worried about? God got us." And then after that, maybe a year or two after that, I was in a store with him, and a stranger came up to me and was like, "Do you guys go to church?" And I was like, "Not every Sunday." And she was
Mhm.
like, "Get that little fella in church because God has a call in his life." And that kind of scared me. So I started going to church.
Mhm.
And while I was, in going to church, then I got the call that there was also ministry on my life. But unfortunately, my son passed away in 2009, February 2009. And people were saying, "Oh, you're so strong. You're so strong. We don't know how you do it." And on the outside, I was strong, but on the inside, I was secretly dying.
Mhm.
Um, and suffering in silence because you know that traditionally in the African American community and in the church, that they don't feel like mental health is an issue. They feel like if you get on the prayer line, you love God enough, and they slap enough oil on you, that
Mhm.
everything is gonna be all right. But all you really and they were doing that, and I knew I loved God, but every Sunday I was going home the same, just a little oilier, but I was still having the same feelings like, why did this happen to my son? And when people would say, he's in a better place, I thought it was really something wrong with me because in my head I would be saying, well, you let your little Johnny go to the better place and tell me tomorrow if you think little Johnny's in a better place. Because to me, I know that we don't come here to stay and we got to all take that journey. But you just don't want to hear that at the beginning of your stages of grief. You're already dealing with denial. You're already dealing with anger and bargaining and all those steps of grief that you go through when you lose somebody. So you don't want to hear it's not that people do it to be malicious or people are being mean. They really think they're helping you. But I
Mhm.
wanted to cry out, you're not helping. So eventually I had to go to EAP at my job and talk to a therapist because even though all ministers are not equipped to deal with mental issues. A lot, God called them and they haven't gone to school. So they're just, especially the older pastors, they're just not equipped to deal with mental issues. And the church tells you it's all right if you have to take high blood pressure pills and diabetes pills and all high cholesterol pills. But when you have to take pills for depression and anxiety, then
Mhm.
they want to say you possessed by a demon. That ain't nothing wrong with you, just possessed by a demon. So I had to realize that it's okay not to be okay because on April 17th, 2009, a month after my son died, I wanted to. commit suicide because it was his birthday. And I'm thinking, I'm not thinking like a minister. I'm thinking like a mom. Like, I wonder if they're up in heaven celebrating his birthday. I wonder if grandma bought him a cake. Just
Mm,
these thoughts like that I was having. So I poured all my pills in my hand, and I decided that that was the day that I was going to go and be with him. And I heard a still small voice say, if you do it, you won't see him again. And I put all the pills back in the bottle. And that's the day I decided that I couldn't just survive. I had to find a way to live through this.
wow. Well, that so like that was a moment of transformation for you to kind of really figure out exactly the turning point for your life. No, thinking back through your journey, if you have to empower anyone right now with your story, something that happened to you based on that your son passing away, that will really lift them up in a certain way to think about their life differently. What would be some of those tips you would give them that they need to think about right now? People need to think about.
That first of all, like the person that's going through it, grief has no expiration date. No
Hmm.
one can tell you how to grieve, how long to grieve. Like, some people grieve by going to the cemetery every day. Other people grieve by not being able to go to the cemetery, but you can't blame them for the way they're grieving, because they're not grieving like you would grieve, um and they're grieving longer. Like, my it has almost been 15 years, and I'm still grieving the loss of my son, because there's a void in my life. Like, everybody can go home and, after the funeral, after they come over every day and bring you something, but once you bury them, it's like all the friendships and the people stop coming, and you have to deal with that loneliness on your own. So for the person who's grieving, I want to say that there's no expiration date to grieving. You're gonna have some good days, you're gonna have some bad days, but that's normal. And don't let anybody shame you for doing that. To the people who know somebody who lost somebody, don't stop coming after the funeral is over, because when everything is over, that's when people
Hmm.
need you. That's when they're alone. And even when you come, you don't even have to say anything, because sometimes, there's no words. So you just come and let them talk to you about what they want to share.
Hmm. So if you don't mind me asking, so what were some of the things that people say to you that got you to think about your transition, your grief process differently than you thought you would?
That I think that because being in the clergy and being that um we're not here forever, but um you still have a hard time processing it, because you may have a title on your name, but underneath that, you're human. So when people say things like, I understand what you're going through, but they never lost a child. Like,
Mm,
no, you can imagine what I'm going through, you can think what I'm going through, but you don't know what I'm
mm,
going through unless you've been in my shoes. So if you've never gone through it, don't tell anybody I know how you feeling, because you don't know
mm.
how they're feeling. You can guess how they're feeling, you can whatever, but you don't know until you've done it. And like I said earlier, saying that they're in a better place, or saying that you can have another one if you're young. If you're young and you have 20 more kids, you still won't replace the one that you lost.
Mm. Wow, interesting. Thank you for sharing, Alma, because uh, I haven't lost anybody either. So no, I'm processing this, and I'm grateful for you sharing your story because this it sounds like. So what does it feel like actually? What does it feel like to actually come out now and start sharing your story with other people? Because I know you've been being on podcasts is trying to share your story, share your journey with other people so they can kind of understand exactly some of the things to think about, some of the things to feel, and some of the things to do when they come around somebody that has lost someone very dear to them.
Like I said, that most of the time we just need someone to listen to us as
Mm,
we've been, as we, you ask people, what do you want to share about? Like, even when I go on podcasts, people ask me, like, what do you feel comfortable sharing? But now I'm at the stage of acceptance. So I share all the memories that I have of my son. Um, so
he,
that
he, he
made it,
he was your only son?
I have a daughter.
Okay.
So, now what I happened was I turned my pain into my passion.
Mm-hmm.
That a couple of years after my son passed away, I started the Tyshawn Thomas Friends and Family Scholarship. And to date, out of my family's personal money and a couple of friends, we've given out 17 scholarships to African American males of single parents
Mm-hmm.
who got accepted in school, and we give them a little something to help with their books or their transportation, whatever, whatever we raise. We try to give out each child at least $500.
Mm. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome actually. That's very altruistic. You put it that way. Okay, so what is about your story, your journey that you would love to share other than your son version of his story? What else that you would love to for the listeners or anyone that's hearing your voice right now be influenced by you right
Well, my story has been a lot of bad chapters.
now?
I suffered um a fire in an apartment building that I lived in. My apartment didn't burn, but all the apartments was condemned. So I was homeless for a while. I got married while I was in a temporary situation. I made a permanent decision and I found out he was a substance abuser, so I divorced him. And then in 2021, the reason why I'm in the bed now is in 2021 I had a massive stroke and my whole right side was affected, and they didn't expect me to live. The doctors gave me a 1% chance of living and a 99% chance of not making it. Matter of fact, they had called my family together and told them that if they ever wanted to see me on this side, that they had to come to the hospital right away. So when they told me that basically I was dying, I was like looking at them like, what are y'all talking about? Because I know that I have asthma, and when I can't breathe, I'm struggling to breathe. So this time I wasn't even struggling to breathe, and you're telling me I'm only breathing at 1%. And I was like, I don't believe the doctor's report, because I have a relationship with God that I believe that if he was coming to take me home, he would have gave me some kind of sign. He would sent my son to get me something. But I wasn't feeling that. And the nurse asked me, can I hold your hand while you transpire? I was like, no.
Mm,
And they were looking at me like I was in denial, but I was turning my face to the wall and praying, telling God, I've been faithful, God. Well, I don't know what these people are talking about. And in 3 days, I was stable enough to move from ICU to a room, and then I stayed in the rehab for 2 years. They were basically holding me prisoner against my will there. And I just came home a year ago. So I'm doing these podcasts because people, when they stub their toe or they get rejected or disappointed in life, they want to throw in the towel and give up on their dreams.
mm,
But I'm here to tell them that no matter what situation or circumstance you find yourself in, don't give up on your dream. Like, I compare my life to that clown at the carnival. You know the clown that you throw the ball at really hard, and the clown goes all the way back. And just when you're ready to get your grand prize, that clown jumps back up again. Well, they place something in that clown that makes it bounce back. Well, God has placed something in me that every time I go through a bad chapter, an obstacle, or a hurdle, I bounce back.
Mm.
And I view life as a book, a ever ending book, because some books end, but my book is a series. It goes on and on and on. So each time I have a bad chapter, I turn to a new chapter where the page is clear and I rewrite my story. So I chose in life, you have two choices. You can choose, like, you know how we complain all the time about the weather. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's snowing, it's raining. But we can't do anything about the weather. If it's gonna snow, it's gonna snow. If it's gonna rain. So if I'm not gonna be able to walk, I'm just not gonna be able to walk. Why would I spend all my time being bitter over the fact that I can't walk, but I still got my voice and I still have my cognitive skills? I can still inspire and empower people. I can still preach the gospel, and tell people how good God has
Mm.
been to me. So I don't have anything to be bitter about. Right now, and I'm in a temporary state of I can't walk, but I'm not letting that stop me from achieving my dreams. I wrote books before I had the stroke, and I've written books after I had the stroke. That they it was a little bit more frustrating because I had to type with one hand on my phone because I can't see my computer. But
Mhm.
I did it. I typed. One book is called, and they're both in the publishers, so they're coming out soon. One book is called "Surviving a Stroke Against All Odds," and it comes with a healing journal with the healing scriptures that I read during my process. And the second book is a Bible study book because I want to teach Bible study online and use instead of each week looking for what I'm gonna teach, I have it all together in a book. Excuse me. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Mm. Wow, that's very powerful, by the way. I was listening. I'm curious then. You mentioned dreams. What is your dream still, Alma? Like, what is your dream that you have left that you want to achieve still?
Um, I want to continue writing books.
Hmm.
Um, I want to, if by my life I can inspire one person not to give up, then I want to be an encourager and encourage people, because what I'm going through, I don't think it's for me, but it's for other people who might not have the faith that I have, to encourage them that if I can go through all that I've gone through and come out on the other side, you can go through what you're going through and come out on the other side. So I want to just continue writing books, continue teaching Bible study, and when the time is right, when the process is over, I'm gonna get up out this bed and walk.
Hmm. Wow, you know something interesting. I'm listening to you, and there's the power of the voice. And even if that's all you have to offer to the world, it's part of your voice, you get to do that. And not a lot of people are brave enough or courageous enough to come out and speak publicly about this story on camera, so forth and so on. Not a lot of people are comfortable doing it. So you doing it right now and just sharing your journey, sharing your story is very empowering. And I'm inspired by it. Just to listen to you talk about your story, I'm very inspired by it. Because not a lot of people would do it, but you're doing it.
That's a lot of people tell me, like, oh, you want us to cut the camera off? You want people to see you laying in bed. Yeah, that's my story. I'm laying in bed, but I'm still doing what God has a purpose and a plan for all us. And it doesn't look like we want it to look all the time. It
Mhm.
might come different, but we still have a purpose and a plan. So I want to live out my purpose and my plan.
Mm. Well, congratulations, Alma. Thank you for your time and your message. and your purpose, embodying your purpose and sharing your story with the world. Anything else you want the folks to hear about your journey, your story before we wrap up and close out?
Well, but I would like to say thank you for inviting me on your platform to share my testimony. Because, like I said, if one person is affected by my testimony, then my living wouldn't be in vain. But
Mm,
to tell everybody, don't give up on your dreams. No matter how many disappointments and rejections you go through, you can start all over again. You don't have to throw in a towel. You don't have to surrender, but you can live your purpose driven life. Um, that's what my message is, that you can just live again. A lot of people have rocked their dreams to sleep and they
mm,
thought they can never achieve them, but I came by this afternoon to just double dog dare you to dream again.
mm. Wow, very well said. Very powerful. Thank you, Alma, for your time, energy, and attention today. And for the folks that are listening, hey, just go ahead and put hashtag live in the chat if you're listening to this live, or hashtag replay if you're catching this on replay. And again, you tune into the Pandora's Awareness podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. And today was a theme around need, what you need to think, do, or feel. And Alma gave us some foresight into what we can think, do, or feel, some insight into that process as well, and her story of overcoming all those challenges toward her journey and still find a voice to say, I'm still dreaming. I still have my dreams, and I'm still embodying my dream going forward. So thank you again, Alma, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.